The Waxman-Markey climate bill puts aside more than $25 billion for programs that help the U.S. adapt to climate change. But a new report suggests the country is nowhere near ready for massive floods, droughts, and unpredictable weather patterns that are associated with global warming. A panel of experts was on the Hill today testifying in front of the House Select Committee on Energy Independence and Global Warming. Clean Sky's Lee Patrick Sullivan was there. He joins us now with more. Lee.
Well, Susan, the report put out by the Government Accountability Office paints a picture of a federal government that is long on talk but short on action when it comes to preparing for climate change.
Hurricane Katrina, a reminder of what the consequences are when local, state, and federal governments are not prepared to deal with a disaster. Those images were on the minds of lawmakers as they listened to testimony on how the U.S. is preparing to deal with the coming effects of climate change.
Katrina foreshadows the consequences of climate change if we do not make the necessary preparations.
According to a new GAO report, the United States is nowhere near ready for rising sea levels, intense storms, droughts, and other impacts from global warming. The report states that if action isn't taken, there could be dozens of Katrina-like scenarios.
In recent years, climate change adaptation has begun to receive more attention because the greenhouse gases already in the atmosphere are expected to continue altering the climate system in the future, regardless of efforts to control emissions. However, individuals and institutions whose futures will be affected by climate change are at present unprepared both conceptually and practically for meeting the challenges it presents.
One course of action is for Americans to adapt to the changing climate, such as better freshwater conservation programs and having people move away from disaster-prone areas.
As my hydrology teacher used to tell us, you know why they call them floodplains, don't you? Because they flood. And so people should not be living in them.
Right.
And to the extent that we subsidize their living there, we should cease doing so.
The GAO report was critical of the federal government for not having a cohesive plan of attack to deal with the effects of climate change, but did applaud local efforts, such as some Pacific Coast communities, that are looking into seawalls and levees similar to the ones in London that hold back the mighty Thames River.
There's no reason why you can't install coastal armor, why you can't build seawalls as well. My suggestion, though, is rather than make the mistakes of the past by having the state governments build them, those should be done in public-private partnerships and based on a utility where people pay a certain share of the protective aspect of that levee. And again, the price signal will determine whether or not people are really willing to live there and how they want to protect themselves, or if they need to move inland a bit. And we are talking, let's not forget, sea level is not going to simply go up 2 feet tomorrow. We're talking over 100 years, assuming it continues to rise at the rate it has since the last ice age. That's a lot of time for people to be able to creep back and adapt and build.
And Susan, Dr. Green points out that a much larger project, the interstate highway system, was completed in just 50 years, so he thinks we have plenty of time to prepare for climate change.
But Lee, we don't have to wait 100 years or so. Apparently, some believe that states are already feeling the impact.
Yeah, Susan, that's true. We heard testimony today that less than an hour drive from this studio off the coast of Maryland, there are several islands in the Chesapeake Bay that no longer exist because of rising sea levels.
Wow, an interesting fact there. Thank you, Lee Patrick Sullivan.